I'm Ashok Vyas, and I'm very, very happy that Insight Tonight is serving the purpose with which this program came into being, and that is to stimulate thinking. And I must also appreciate all my guests who help me in learning more about the world and helps me in developing analytical thinking. And that is very, very important in terms of the fact, the kind of decisions that we make. And while we are talking about Prime Minister Narendra Modi, still people remember 56 inch ki chati, and people associate his image with strength. But if you change the decisions that you make, how does that impact your image as well as the governance? So we will be talking about impact U-turns by Modi Sarkar, and what are the U-turns? We will also have some of them today. I have the pleasure of welcoming Rajendra Harsha and Dr. Sudhir Bisht with folded hands. Namaskar.
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 So, Rajendra, folded hands has become a synonymous that you are going to seek for votes. Many times you will say, oh, he's coming with folded hands. But let's get down to the business and have the floor for Dr. Sudhir Bisht, who is joining from New Delhi. And Sudhir ji, Rajendra ji recently was under the impression that you are based in USA. So, how the dividing line, geographical division gets blurred by internet happens in this show also. Go to Delhi with you, Sudhir ji, and allow me also to add. Sometimes it is good that you reverse your decision if you have additional data. But what is it that is making you change your decision makes a lot of difference in the political colors and the impact. Over to you, Sudhir.
Thank you very much, and it's always a pleasure to be on your show. And the pleasure gets doubled when Harshji also is there. So first of all, this concept of U-turn, I have not quite comprehend. We live in a dynamic world where nothing is static. Positions are changing. People have expectations. Expectations rise. Expectations falls. And a true leader is one who has his focus on the strategic goal, but he wants to carry everybody along. So, and there is, when we talk of management, we talk of a process called planning, organizing, staffing, developing, control. you know so when we talk of control, it also means a review of what you have done. And then if there is a need for a change, you necessarily take that change, you necessarily chart the path of a change. So to call a change a U-turn is not quite correct, because I'll tell you that this is being spoken about in context of two three things. One is the unified pension scheme, so which people say is an about turn of the new pension scheme, and it is almost like reverting to the old pension scheme, which is not true actually. Then some people are talking of a U-turn in terms of having a relook at what is called the Agniveer. That also is not a U-turn. Actually, it's a process of reviewing, and it's a process of uh, doing course correction if you have gone right or gone wrong. So I don't know why it is being called a U-turn. And I think there is one more thing about which people are saying that it is a U-turn. Yeah, it is called the lateral entry of senior people in the higher echelons of bureaucracy. But that has been withdrawn, not permanently, but the advertisement has been withdrawn. The concept has not been withdrawn. So maybe it makes very good media sense, and it gets a lot of TRP, for especially for Indian media, which is jostling for limited mind space of people. But I don't see any
Yeah,
human.
let me interrupt you, and I'll go slight flashback. I'll come back to the present, and then I'll go to Rajendra ji. And before I get to the point that I wanted to be included, uh, I think you should be the spokesperson for BJP, because the way you are making their case, I haven't heard that approach or angle being taken by many of the famous speakers. So coming to why I wanted to bring this U-turn situation, Rajendra ji, I interviewed at that time he was Consul General of India in New York, Mr. Jaiswal, who is spokesperson for Government of India at the moment, based in India, and he said it umpteen and that government is not going to take back the farmers' bill. And we talked about all the benefits that this bill will be having for the farmers and for the economy as a whole, and overall how it helps in having the fair level field for the farmers. So when that bill was taken back after so much agitation, which also resulted into a lot of economic as well as other kind of losses. But was it necessitated by the politics or was there some threat? We don't know exactly what led to this. So when we say U-turn, we are just looking back slightly about the farmers' bill and what is the analytical way which you conclude, Rajendra ji, with regards to this mechanism in the political orbit when something which you bring with so much jest, enthusiasm, force, and then you are in a position to take it back. So allow me to say, as a layman, and I won't call myself a very astute political pundit, as I would put Sudhir ji in that bracket with all his columns and all that. But for a layman, this gives the impression that government is bending down, which means it is not coming as strong as people would generally like it to be. So sometimes flexibility can also be strength, but when you are forced to change your decision, I don't see that as a strength. And then of course we'll connect with where we are right now, Rajendra.
Yeah. So when you say take the, it is. I agree with Sudhiji. First thing, that is, these are not U-turns and so many things. And number two, which is very well told, feedback is name of the game. You have to take a feedback and change the course of actions, and that is normal management. Now, suppose Modi would not have been taken U-turn on many things, and he would have implemented. He has got the thing he could have implemented. Basically, at least later, earlier, he had the much more majority, and he could have implemented. Okay, what you would have told all throughout the world? He is a authoritarian. He is a dictator. Now, when he's taking U-turn, he say you are weak. So a man in a politics has to make understand that he want to be known as a dictator or he want to be known as a who can be, changed. So in the politics, it is not the thing which is right and wrong. Politics is the game of the power tussle. When you see that your any decision is making you losing your power, political power, then you need to take an action which is changing to that, bending to it, even might taking U-turn or holding it or postponing it, so that your overall politics is not goes to the dictatorship. Number one, you are not termed as a dictator, and secondly, that you have to in the stock market you say you reduce the losses. So you reduce the losses. So either you handle them politically, and when he found that the public was not coming upfront on the streets against the farmers. So when the majority is not coming against the farmers on that farmer bill, and for those who you want to have a benefit, they don't want benefit. What is the incentive for a politician to give that
Okay,
benefit?
so sorry to interrupt. So the way he is looking at it, which sounds logical, but then this takes away the the reference point of operating from principles. And Modi ji has said it umpteen times that he doesn't operate for the vote politics or he wants to go for that which is good for the nation. Now, in that context, if your arms are getting twisted by the street protests, then is it real democracy? Are you in a position to apply your wisdom to take the country forward? So those kind of questions also emerge. How do you see his logic as far as you look at it from the political prism and you say what kind of image you want to project? But then that is a totally different ball game than the real issues which would help India emerge as an economic power or would be beneficial for many people.
Now, give me a minute, Ashokji,
Okay,
before that. Give me a minute.
sure.
Simple thing is, you can implement your principles if you are in power. And you are in power only when you get votes. So you have 20 things to implement, and the most important things are in priorities is something which is not priority for the country. If you leave that and so that you remain in power and implement other 19 things, I think that is a sensible thing.
Yeah,
I think
Sudhir,
that's
yeah. Sudhir, you take over. Yeah.
Uh, See, on the contrary, I personally think that taking back the farm bills, rescinding the farm bills, was a U-turn, and it was an unfortunate U-turn actually.
yeah.
If you see, farmers would have benefited so much by those three farm bills. So the loss is of farmers. And believe me, if the most of the agitating farmers, if they were not from Punjab and they were not Sikhs, perhaps Prime Minister would not have taken back those farm bills because of the international kind of a situation which was created in India from Canada, and the kind of a international pressure and international conspiracy which was aided by another democratic country which is upwards of America. Had that not happened, perhaps farm bills would have become reality today. But that is an unfortunate circumstance. You cannot blame Modi for taking them back. We will call it plain unfortunate. Another thing is, how do you govern a country which is as as multicultural, so many ethos within India, more than 20 languages, more, you take one decision, and that decision, almost all decisions are like a double-edged sword. Let's take the case of Agniveer, the Sainiks. On one hand, we are saying that most of the Indian defense budget is going towards servicing the salaries and the pensions, and there is no real money left, less than 40% money left for acquisition of arms. Okay, and on the other hand, we say that army is an avenue for employment generation, so to say. World over, we are seeing, you look at China. China has gone into a command formation. There is no longer trifurcation of army, which is sea, air, and land. No, but there are command formations. Also, you also see mechanized kind of soldiers coming into play. You see, China is heavily investing in robotics in the as soldiers. So in the light of this, we need to come out with a very new program which is in sync with the which can meet the needs of the time. So it is necessary that you have a lean force, you have a force which is very very young, and you keep on replenishing that force. Okay, so on the face of it, it has generated so much of adverse publicity. Most of the soldiers, they come from Uttarakhand, Himachal, Punjab, Haryana, Uttar Pradesh. Okay, but if you see in all these states, in the recent Lok Sabha elections, in Uttarakhand, in Himachal, in Haryana also, in spite of so much of anti-incumbency, the government has not done so well. I sometimes feel that we read too much into what mainstream media it confabulates, and we have lost touch with the people. The mainstream media is not able to understand or not able to feel the real pulse of India. That is point number one. Point number two is, if there are in the face of so much, for example, in case of farmer protest, in the face of so much agitation, in the face of so much, the roads are closed, people are parking, and there is so much of angst, and everything is on the boil, and everything appears to be going out of control. So what do you do for the larger cause of the country? For the larger cause of the country, you swallow a bitter pill, you go back, you are even heaped upon humiliation, you are subject to ridicule. You need to be large hearted to take a decision in the larger interest of the company, because after all, if the country dies, who lives? So it is also a matter of
Yeah,
content.
yeah, let me bring in the overall little bit of the way political dynamics is being seen. So I bring a reference of a quote from opposition leader Rahul Gandhi during election campaign. And Rajendra, I'll come to you. I'll connect it with what we are discussing.
Yeah.
So at one point he said that if by some unfair means, his words were different, Modi government gets the majority there will be chaos in the country. देश जलेगा. Exact word was देश जलेगा. ये देश नहीं बचेगा. He used that kind of a term. I found that very insensitive from my point of view. Anybody, how can you say about your nation that ये देश नहीं बचेगा? I mean, so that, but that point was not received the kind of rebuttal. Which, see, this is where the whole patriotism thing, and I'll bring my why I'm bringing it. So, on the one hand, you talk about nationalism, and you have certain laws which are in place where you are going against the interests of the nation, etc. But on the other hand, you are not even having enough of muscle behind objecting or protesting to certain statements. And allow me to also say what Sudhir was saying. Many times it seems that you are objecting to statements based on the political prism. So then the question of the principle with which, or the truthfulness, or the honesty, or the integrity with which you associate BJP, or they sort of say Prime Minister Narendra Modi also, sometimes you feel it is not visible in action. And so there also, in the principle side, the ideals with which you are standing, or the core voters that you are sort of catering to, there is a U-turn slightly here and there. Rajendra, it's like a very broad picture, but talking about your thoughts.
So what I'm saying, there are 3 points which you raised. The last point, let's take it first: the principles and politics. So this is a prejudice about politics, that politics is bad. Okay, which is not. Politics is a part of the society, and it is because of that we have a democracy. So principles are separate and politics are separate. It is not that. Politics has its own principles, and that has to be accepted, and that is the soul of democracy. If you don't accept those, then your democracy will not be there. That's number one. Number two, what Sudhirji told about Agniveer, I have a little different opinion on that. If government wanted to reduce this, nobody will stop them to employ less Jawans and keep them forever. After all, you are taking 75% of Agniveer into your regular, na? Or 40% or 50, whatever percentage. Whatever you want to keep, recruit only that much, na? Why you want to recruit and then leave them?
But sir, the idea is to have a young force which is under 30 years of age.
No, that's what I'm saying. No, that's what I'm saying. When you recruit only that much every year, you have a young force. Because after all, those who have taken are going to be old. You are not retiring them. And number two, when we say young force, means it happens only when the rest of 60% you are using into the war for those 2-3 years. If those 2-3 years there is no war, then so for those 2-3 years, those 40% also remains young.
Sir, with your permission, let me explain to you the rationale. What happens is, see, when somebody joins as a Jawan, some of them get promoted as junior commissioned officers. They Nayak, Subedar. Some of them become Subedar majors. The idea is that 3/4 of the force remains a fighting force, which is lean and thin and fit, and which can run with 100 kg bag at the rate of maybe 200 meters in 30 seconds, something like that. Rest of them will become, because they are not 25%. It's a head to tail ratio.
So Sudhirji, that really doesn't hold good. I did the whole calculation. Keep 40%. Okay, 60% less. Next year again, you are going to have 40%.
No, but if you don't retire them, you won't.
No.
If you don't retire them in 10 years' time, you have a very
100. No, you are taking 100 and retaring 60.
Okay. So those 25% who are retained,
40 remains young.
No, those 25% who are retained, after some time they become, they come in the supervisory cadre.
No,
they are not really.
Give me a minute. Let me not leave it. Give me a small minute. You take 25% only today. After 2 years, again take 25%. No, it stops you. Again, take.
then there,
Instead of
then there will
taking
be a vacuum.
100 today and retiring 75%, you can take 25% in 4 years, in 5 years. You'll always a young person remain with you.
No, because at any
Yes,
given
sorry.
point, at
That
Let's
will
any
be
finish
given
and then
point
let's
in
that
time,
will
you
be
are
detailed.
100%.
That will
sorry,
be detailed.
sorry, both of you. See, the reason I'm interrupting you is because we are looking at a broad picture
Broad
about
picture.
U-turns, so
Okay.
we are not
I
getting into
agree with
all the
you.
details. So that's why, and many
I
people may not understand the way it is. So, talking about the decision making and Sudhir and Rajendra ji, when there was so much protest, trains were being burnt, and people were up in arms, especially youth.
No,
I mean,
let me reply that. Let
one
me
thing,
reply that, Ashokji. What you
no,
have
no,
already told about Rajiv Gandhi,
no,
about
no,
Rahul Gandhi.
one second, one second. Let me finish. Let me.
Hmm.
So, Sudhir, when we talk about reconsidering the decision making, then wasn't that the appropriate time rather than now reaching to the stage where, because you lost the political capital at the time, which also was visible in some of the Vidhan Sabha Chunav also. Now, so what I'm seeking your input, Sudhir first, and we are also at the threshold of upcoming Vidhan Sabha Chunavs in few states. So, when you either you take back your decision or you reconsider whatever you call, and the good management terms that Rajendra ji also used in the beginning, uh, timing is also important. Uh, Especially, let's say, look at it from the political mileage. Then when are you now? It shows you didn't thoroughly considered and kind of on not a very strong ground. Sudhir ji, you and then
जैसा राजेंद्र सर ने बताया, see, when you take a decision and suppose you have to take that decision back, why is it that you have to take it back? Number one, was the decision wrong at the first place? If the decision was wrong, then it is your moral duty to take it back. Okay. Second thing is, are you doing it under political pressure? What is the magnitude of the pressure? What is the gravity of the pressure? And point number three is, did you go wrong in terms of implementing? For let's take the case of the decision to announce to take UPSC advertised a few positions as lateral entry for director, deputy secretaries, and joint secretaries, perhaps joint secretaries also. And that after that there was a hue and cry from various people, including from Ram Vilas Paswan's son Chirag Paswan, who said that the lateral entry officers, it has not taken into consideration the reservation. And then Jitendra Singh, the MOS in Prime Minister office, wrote a letter to UPSC and the advertisement was taken back. Now this is not a bad decision, this is very poor planning. This is
Yes.
poor planning. The party should have, the government should have discussed this very thoroughly. I think this was a decision which was taken in hurry. Because why the decision was taken? Because there is real talent crunch in government today, and Prime Minister Narendra Modi wants to attract private sector talent into the government, so that so that the decision making process in the government is more dynamic. It runs like a well-oiled machine. The government functions like a well-oiled machine. But then, should they not have considered the fact that everybody is talking about OBC and reservation? Should they not have considered this factor that we will also keep reservation in place in this? So I think it
okay.
was a
So,
very
let
so,
me.
so let me complete in 30 seconds. It was a very good decision. Prime Minister Manmohan Singh was a lateral entry.
Yeah.
Urjit Patel, Deputy Governor, who became governor, was a lateral entry.
Raghuram
Raghuram
Rajan.
Rajan was a lateral entry. There
Yeah.
have been lateral entries, and the National Advisory Council headed by Sonia Gandhi, was it not a full lateral entry running like a parallel government?
They
So
could
has
have done
Modi
without
committed a crime?
advertisement.
Has Modi committed a crime by inviting people from private sector? He can do it by a fiat also, by a executive order. He does
Yeah,
not.
without
Modi has
advertisement.
power.
We don't need
He does not have
advertisement.
to advertise for
Okay.
it.
Yeah,
So, but
let me
the
make
thing
a
is, his
let me
his
make a
advisors perhaps failed him.
let me make a quick point and then concluding remarks from Raidari and briefly, if there is time, from you also. See, the lateral entry concept a little bit that I understand. If you bring in the reservation along with it, then the basic premises with which you are bringing the talent, it goes out of the window. So it's a very precarious situation, and I see politically the issue raised by Mr. Paswan holds value, but in terms of the efficiency or increasing the efficiency, the way it has been, I don't think even during the Congress time, in the lateral entry, they were being cognizant of the reservation. Do you know? Was there any?
No.
No,
They
Yeah.
were taking lateral entry without advertisement. Everybody was taking.
yes,
Let me come in that. First thing, the
that is
lateral
true.
entry
That
you
is
could have
correct.
taken without any advertisement, but government wanted to have a system of that, so that you can have more and more lateral entries. Now, when you take without reservation lateral entry, you are right. When you're taking lateral entry without reservation, it is in on merit basis. But if you take everything on merit basis, then you are already not accepting the thing which you have already accepted of a reservation. IAS and everything you have already accepted reservation. So politically you cannot go without reservation, because that is the hit to that reservation. Today you have 15% of this reservation, 60% of reservation. Tomorrow you being 30% without reservation. Then what will happen to the reservation ratio within the service? So if you take as a system, you have to take a reservation. Number two, what you told me earlier, that why persons have not taken Rahul Gandhi's those words of आग जला देंगे, and that I give a problem, and that I give the reason because of the BJP. BJP made 2 points that he is a pappu. So then nobody talks about pappu. They take seriously. Number one. Number two, BJP told 400. So nobody thought that Rahul Gandhi will come into the power. So once they think that he is a pappu, should not be taken seriously. Number two, when you think that he is not going to come in power, the public will not take him seriously. If simply Modi telling this what do you say about of Muslims name with the
Mangal Sutra.
what do you have in
Mangal Sutra.
Sutra was taken very seriously. Why? Because everybody knew he's coming to the he's coming into the power again. Rahul Gandhi was not going to come power again. That was taken as
Granted.
overall. So
Yeah.
nobody took it seriously.
Yeah. So, Sudhir, I'll make a quick point and then concluding remarks from you. We just have 2 minutes. One, probably they were underestimating Rahul Gandhi. If that was the premises we take forward, which Rajendra ji said, and I think that is not a very smart thing to do in politics. But moving forward, in 1 minute, about the U-turns by Modi Sarkar, ultimately the impact would be it will emerge or have the perception that it is weakening or not.
See, see, perception could be anything, but I am going at a larger picture of whether we should ridicule any U-turn. What I am saying is, my premise is every decision has to be in the interest of nation, not in the interest of party, not in the face of the onslaught by opposition. If a decision has been taken which has the potential of damaging the fabric of this country, then we need to take back that decision irrespective of the ridicule which will be heaped upon us. I think that way Modi has shown a great heart. Let's give the man a credit. To the question of Rahul Gandhi mouthing inanities, see, the thing is, as Harsh sir, he rightly pointed out, Rahul Gandhi earlier was a victim of low expectations, and now he is enjoying the fruits of low expectation. It is
I
Yeah.
think we'll leave it at that. So I think it is reverse is working for Prime Minister Modi. High expectations. So even if you deliver, it won't come up to the level of expectation. But I appreciate your wonderful contribution for this remarkable, insightful conversation. Thanking Sudhirji, Rajendraji, and thanking all of you for being a
Thank
part
you.
of this conversation. This is Ashok Vyas. Namaste.